Welcome to the grind.
There's a 2-hour window I get to see my woman. There's a clock ticking on her. It ain't my friend. Work wasn't easy, but we've been fit. Oh, I'm home, and she's off to bed. Oh, no. Money, my favorite liar.
Welcome, everyone, to the grind. I'm your host, Devin Murray, and we are back again for another episode of this dang thing. Did you miss me yesterday? Sorry there was no episode. Kind of missed you guys. I don't know. It's kind of a one-way relationship we've got going on here. So I hope you missed me. I hope you didn't miss out on my bets last night because we absolutely killed it. I was wrong about one game, and even that game I immediately was like, oh, I'm wrong about this, and got on the other side of it. And so kind of went perfect for the night. So hope you were following along on Twitter at The Grind Podcast, because we made some good money last night. We don't usually do that here. And that's not really what this podcast is about. It's more about just staying in touch with the NBA on a daily basis. Hence the daily grind, you know. But one of the good things about keeping up with the everyday in the NBA is you can pick out where there's some good lines. And every now and then, you can make a little money. So I hope you did last night. We'll get through it. Last night we did do a little streaming on Twitch. It was kind of in and out, so I didn't really share it a lot. I think 2 or 3 people hopped in. Probably wasn't anybody that actually listens to the podcast. But hoping to get that going. It was fun to do for a little bit. There's a lot of dead time. So if you're going to tune into that, I hope you also have League Pass and can just kind of watch the games. But it was fun to kind of chat about what was going on live and just live reactions and all that, because it was a fun night. So let's get into it real quick. We took the Bucks minus 10 live. It got down to like minus 5.5. But then the Bucks went on a little bit of a run, and I was like, Wizards suck. And so, of course, the Wizards did suck. And they kept it close up until about 6 minutes left in the fourth. And then I hope you saw the clip of Jordan Poole, thinking that rolling the ball down the court stopped the game clock and the shot clock from rolling. And then his reaction is like whiny reaction where he looks at the scorer's table. Come on, like, as soon as you realize it, just pick it up. It's not, to think that was the scorer's fault was just hilarious to watch play out in real time. And so, of course, the Wizards sucked. There was 3 big underdogs last night, and they were all the early games. The Wizards were 10-point dogs, the Hornets were 8.5-point dogs, and the Pistons were 10-point dogs. I told one of my buddies that if you want to play the I told you so parlay, you could throw all those in a parlay together. And I did that with just a little bit, just a very small one. It paid out like 6-1. And so I just did it just in case it did hit. I could say I told you. But on my straight-up bets, I took the Pistons, the Hornets, and the Bucks in those 3 games. The Wizards were the ones that I thought didn't have a chance to really cover there. And they almost did, but lost by 13. The next game up was the Hornets hosting the Celtics. Don't really like Miles Bridges, and he hit the game-winning shot. I'm not going to get on my soapbox about this. It is what it is. It's terrible. That's what it is. But we took the Hornets because didn't think that was a great spot for the Celtics. The Hornets do seem a little like they're buzzing. I'm going to do that pun again. Okay, sorry. I don't think this is really a big indictment of the Celtics. I know people are going to get all over Jaylen Brown today, but this is who Jaylen Brown is. The Celtics should have known this whenever they offered him the contract. It's not like he's gotten worse. This is just who he is. Yeah, he might go off for 50 later this week, but he's always, in between his 50-point performances, he's always had duds. He's always come up short in, the big moments, unless he's just going off. There's a picture of Kristaps Porzingis standing like this underneath the basket in overtime whenever the game's tied, and Jaylen Brown just hoists up a guarded 3 instead of just dumping it down. He's just not a great player. I said in the preseason tournament, if you watch those episodes, that I don't understand why Jaylen Brown is being paid like he's a top 15 guy in the league, because he's not. I don't have a list in front of me, but in the playoffs, he's not in my top 20. He's not one of those guys that I would consider, hey, he's gonna come through whether he's having a good shooting night or not. He's gonna make sure that you guys win. Like, Jaylen Brown is not that kind of player. He's not that dude that is just gonna do whatever it takes to win. If the things that he's good at are going well, he'll have a good game. He might have a great game. But if he's off a little bit, he's not a great player. The Nuggets were in Detroit, and the Pistons got up to 10-point dogs and loved the Pistons. I saw that comment that Cade Cunningham thought that, he said that we're bad and we've just got to admit the things that we're bad at. And yeah, you're bad, but you're young and you're injured. Joe Harris has been out. Jalen Duren has been out. Killian Hayes has been out. And it's are those great players? No. But whenever you have to go one more rung down on your depth chart, you're going to be bad against legitimate NBA rosters. But whenever they've been healthy, anyone that's watched them should be pretty impressed with them. And sure enough, they came out and hung with the Nuggets. Now, the Nuggets, we took the Pistons here because the Nuggets still have Jamal Murray out. And they're just not the same guy on defense whenever Murray's not out there. And especially because that means that you give more offensive possessions to MPJ. I saw that he, in 160 minutes, had 0 assists. Was it 160 minutes? That's a lot of minutes. Maybe it was 80 minutes. I don't know what it was. But had 0 assists. He's now filled into that, primary ball handler. That's not the point guard, but the guy that's making stuff happen off the wing, and he is not a facilitator. And without Jamal Murray there to keep the wheels greased there, I think that the Nuggets are going to continue to struggle. They might still win games because Jokic is so great. But as far as these 10-point lines for the Nuggets, these 8-point lines on the road against decent teams that have at least one playmaker, probably keep an eye on those because the Nuggets are not in a great spot right now, betting-wise. Okay, the next game that we took was Miami Heat in Chicago. We took the Heat money line. The Bulls are just a broken team right now. They are fighting a lot of trade rumors right now. And Levine walked off the court the other night. He seems to have a problem with the organization at this point due to how much he's been shopped around. And he doesn't feel like they're shooting straight with him. And he feels like he's not going to be a part of that. And I've said all season that this team was going to blow it up. I think DeRozan's getting moved. I think Levine's getting moved. I think Vucevic, if he doesn't get moved, it's because nobody wants him and nobody wants his contract. We took the Heat. We were all about the Heat culture versus the fractured organization that we've got right now in Chicago. And Heat walked away with it. I just hated that -1.5 line. I was like, if this thing ends up being close, I don't want to have to eat that. And so we did, got a little worse odds for the money line, but in some of these under 3 points, under 5 points, sometimes you just want to take the money line. If you can get it under 200, if you think that they're going to win, then what's it matter if you stake a little bit more money? It sucks losing those 1-pointers whenever there's not that much to clear. And I know because it's happened to me multiple times this year. All right, next game was the one game that we got wrong going into the night. We took the Kings -1. Pelicans were hosting them in New Orleans. And I saw this before, but I thought, I like the Kings. I think they're going to be able to get up and down. It shouldn't really affect them. But this was a schedule loss. They were playing 3 and 4. They had just played the night before. And as soon as I saw that the Pelicans were smoking them at the half, we bailed on the Kings, took a 60% loss on that bet, whatever. And then we put a full bet in on the Pelicans -8.5, and they ended up winning by 30. Again, the schedule losses in the NBA are something that you have to pay attention to. If you're going to bet in the NBA, you need to look at how many games has each team in this game played in the last week. If it's 4 and 6, if it's 5-7, if it's 3-4, if they haven't had a 2 to 3 day break in over 10 days, you have to watch those teams for big letdowns. Terrible spot for the Kings. Glad we switched. Glad we remedied it. Idiot. Don't ever be afraid to cash out your bet and get on the other side. If new information has come to light, then you have to change your thesis about the game. Don't be prideful about it. We cut our pride, cut the bet, got on the other side, made some money. The next game was Clippers in San Antonio. We took the Clippers first and second quarter -2.5. I just thought, hey, the Clippers are not going to come in here and take this game lightly. They haven't had a good record since they got Harden, but they seem to be working things out, seem to be working their lineups out. Kawhi was coming back to San Antonio. You knew that he was going to play well. The first quarter kind of had to sweat it out. They were walking away with it at half. I thought about pressing these winnings and taking them for the full game because they were up 12 at half, and the line was 8.5 on the game, and I think you could still get them at 10.5. And they ended up just killing them. But stayed away from that on the second half. We'll take our 2 wins on one game. Next up, we had the New York Knicks traveling to Minnesota. And this was our game of the night. If you checked on Twitter, this was one that I actually had to text some friends about. Hey, you're going to want to get on the Timberwolves here. This was a huge schedule loss for the Knicks, playing 3-4. The T-Wolves, their last loss in Phoenix, scared a lot of people off, or at least scared Vegas off. But as we talked about, that was a huge schedule loss for the T-Wolves. They had played 5-7. They were on this road trip. So we knew that they were coming back home. They were healthy. Everybody was going to be playing. Knicks are coming to town. Timberwolves have way more length on the wings than the Knicks do. They were able to get after Brunson. And that was a no-sweat bet. And that's by far the biggest bet in a long time that I've done. And it was just, we hedged off Knicks plus 1,300 at one point just to be careful. But Timberwolves' money line was the play of all plays last night, if you were paying attention at all. Last game of the night, didn't bet on it. Thought that the line was good. Warriors -7. Sure enough, Warriors win by 5, I think. And the Rockets hit a layup with 3 seconds left. So didn't feel like sweating that one out. Thought that was a good line. Never thought that it was going to get blown out one way or the other. Rockets were coming off a back-to-back, or were on a back-to-back. So not really a great win for the Warriors. Not going to read too much into that. Still the Rockets. Just thought it was a tough spot for them on the road. Probably not going to get a lot of calls at Golden State. And sure enough, they didn't. So if you got in on that, hope that last second layup didn't hurt you. That was a stay away from me. But all the games that we got in on last night, killed it. Just killed it. Very proud of myself. Yay, 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 yay. Yay, me. Way to go, me. Putting in a little time and a little research can go a long way in this business. Speaking of which, let's get to tonight's games. We've got 5 games tonight, something a little bit more digestible for the NBA layman. These 13 game nights, it can be a lot to get through. Hence why some of these episodes come out so late. We're working on it, as always. All right, so the first game tonight that we're going to get through is the Toronto Raptors traveling to Orlando to take on the Magic. This opened up at Magic -2.5. It's now down to Magic -1.5. The bets are about split. A little bit of the money is coming in on the Raptors. I disagree with the Sharps here. I like the Magic. I don't understand why the Magic are getting disrespected. I'm sure that's just a betting public thing, but I don't see Toronto winning this game. There are really no injuries of note. Wendell Carter Jr. is out for the Magic, but he's been out for a long time, so they're used to playing without him. And all the Magic have done is won 5 of their last 4. Won 3 of 4 on the road. Last 3 on the road. Now, 2 of those were at Chicago, and Chicago's a broken team, but they were smoking Chicago in the first game, and then they gave up like a 17-point lead in the second half and still held on for a win. That's a gutty win. And then they just beat Chicago the next time. And then they beat Indiana on the road. A good Indiana team. Beat them by 12. The one loss that they had was at Brooklyn, and Paolo just had a bad shooting game. And Spencer Dinwiddie went off. The Magic play good defense. They've got the second best defensive rating in the league. They play at a pretty slow pace, similar to the Raptors. I think that the Magic are going to be able to dictate this game. I think that this is going to be very similar to the Chicago matchup. If you're looking at the total here, probably lean on the under. It's at 216, which is a little low. Everybody seems to be in on the under, but I guess that's where I would lean to. I could see this being like 101, 104, something like that. But I just think that the Magic are a better team. Toronto's gotten blown out 2 of their last 4 games on the road against good teams. Got blown out by Boston, got beat pretty handily by Philly, had that crazy comeback in San Antonio and won that game. They've played their last 4 at home, probably feeling a little cushy up there in Toronto, having to travel all the way down to Florida. We're taking Orlando. If you want to take a money line, I don't blame you. Next game up that we've got, the Indiana Pacers traveling to Atlanta to take on the Hawks. This opened up at Hawks minus 4.5. It's now at Hawks minus 3.5 or minus 4. Public love the run and gun Pacers. The Sharps are not as convinced because the money is about even. So the smart money here is going on the Hawks. Now, one thing interesting, I know we don't usually talk a lot about overs and unders here. The over on this game is 251.5. These are 2 of the top 7 teams in pace and offensive rating. They get up and down. This should be a high-scoring game, but whenever you dig into the numbers a little bit, the Hawks have only eclipsed 125 points 3 times this season, and all of them was like by 1 or 2 points. They haven't put up over 131, I don't think, at all this season. Hopefully this game gets out to a quick start. Maybe we can get this over-under up around like 257, and then we can hop on the under. This is probably a stay away unless you're watching the game and you want to hop in on something live. If you see a matchup that you like, trust your gut here. Live betting, if you're going to bet, is where you can get the best odds. You get to see the product. You get to see the matchup. You get to see how people are playing that night. I think that this is going to be a really fun game. Everybody's healthy. You're getting Tyrese Halliburton versus Trae Young, Murray. 2 pretty well-coached teams, 2 good offensive coaches. I think that this is going to be the matchup to watch tonight, even though I like the under. I like the under because I think it's going to be competitive. I think that these possessions are going to be at more of a premium in this game for these teams than a lot of people think that it would be. You look at the pace numbers, you think that this is just going to be a shootout. I think that it will be early, and then I think that it gets pretty competitive and these teams start to lock in. If you're making me take something pregame, I would take the Hawks minus 4 because I think that they're going to win. Hawks money line might be worth checking out. I'm probably not going to bet on this game before the first quarter's over, but I'm leaning Hawks. That's one game where that's why you need League Pass. That is a top tier matchup in the NBA as far as viewing pleasure. And I don't even think it's on NBA TV. It's just on regional. Next up, we've got the Cleveland Cavaliers headed to Philadelphia to take on the Sixers. This line opened at minus 3.5, and it's jumped all the way to minus 7.5. The public loves the Sixers here. And the Sharps seem to be pretty split, but tend to agree. And this line moves so much because Donovan Mitchell is out. But Donovan Mitchell's missed a couple games. And the Cavs have been fine. They beat Detroit. They beat the Nuggets. Mobley seems to be having a good year after what I would, he was 3rd in Defensive Player of the Year. Okay. I think that there was value on the 76ers at minus 3.5 whenever it opened. 8 points? 8 points is quite a lot. Now, one thing to note, although none of these teams are on a back-to-back tonight, the Cavaliers do play back at home tomorrow. I would worry about betting this full game because if the Cavs are out of it in the fourth quarter, I can see them sitting their starters and this kind of getting out of hand. So if you like the Cavs, my suggestion would be is that you just take Cavs first half. I don't know if that's a great bet because you're probably only getting 4.5 points. And if this ends up being a matchup that the Sixers just kind of dominate, then you might just be out of luck. Because the Cavaliers are also missing Isaac Okoro again, and Karis LeVert is questionable. Philly has not been as potent since Tsunami Poppy's been out. Old Kelly Oubre, get better soon. But they just haven't been as potent on the offensive end since he's been out. I still like the Sixers' depth here in this game, though. Being able to throw Patrick Beverley onto Darius Garland if Garland's going off. You've still got some big bodies in Tobias Harris, Embiid, obviously. If you're making me bet the full game, I think that I would take the Sixers at -8, even though it's a lot of points. I think that the real value is on the Cavs, plus 4.5 for the half. We're going to wait and see if Karis LeVert plays or not, so make sure you're following along on Twitter for final lock-in plays, but that's what we're leaning right now. Sixers for the full game, Cavs for the half. Next game up, we've got the Portland Trail Blazers traveling down to Phoenix to take on the Suns. Suns opened at 8.5-point favorites. This moved to 12.5. At one point, I saw it at 13.5. And since it's moved so much, it looks like a good amount of the money is coming in on the Blazers. The Sharps think that there's some value there. I'm not so sure that I agree. The one thing that we're watching here is Malcolm Brogdon is questionable with a hamstring strain. We've talked a lot about Malcolm Brogdon on this team. We think that he's playing to get traded. He's not trying to tank. That guy wants to go play on a contender. On the Suns side of things, Brad Beal is out yet again. The Suns are probably pretty used to playing without him at this point. The one thing to note for the Suns is that Yuta Watanabe is out. Their three-point three-point shooting threat? That's a better way to say that. So we're going to hold off on making a final bet here. I don't think that Malcolm Brogdon getting cleared is going to change the line too much for the public or Vegas, but it's going to change a lot for me. If this line stays at 12.5 and Malcolm Brogdon's in, give me the Blazers. If Malcolm Brogdon's out and it stays at 12.5, give me the Suns. All right, last game of the night. We've got the Utah Jazz in LA taking on the Lakers. This opened up at 7.5. Still right about that. 7.5 for the Lakers, obviously. The public likes the Jazz because everybody hates LeBron. Still, for some reason. But the Sharps like the Lakers. And I think the Sharps are onto something here. Because the Jazz are not good on the road. Here are the road games so far for the Utah Jazz this year. At Phoenix, lost by 22. At Denver, lost by 8. At Minnesota, lost by 28. At Chicago, lost by 17. At Indiana, lost by 16. At Memphis, won by 6. You only beat the Grizzlies by 6? How bad are you? They've just lost 2 games at home to Phoenix, close games, lost by 3, and then they lost in a double overtime game. I think that Lauri Markkanen, I think that Jordan Clarkson, they're starting to see the writing on the wall. 4-9 this year to start off. They got off to the hottest start that they could last year, and then they didn't even sniff the playoffs. Didn't even sniff the play-in. So with this kind of start, they're not making any moves to get any better. This team's probably getting blown up soon. Walker Kessler's still out. Anthony Davis is probable. We like the Lakers here. I am worried that this line is going to move a little bit because LeBron is questionable. If LeBron goes out, this line will obviously drop down a little bit. We'll probably still take the Lakers. And if LeBron's in, then this probably moves up a point or two. Still taking the Lakers. Love the Lakers if LeBron's playing in this game. I expect Jordan Clarkson to have a terrible game tonight. I don't think that he's a Showtime kind of guy. When the lights are brightest, Jordan Clarkson is not. So, those are the bets tonight. Take it easy on them. We went perfect last night. Probably won't go perfect again tonight, but hey, we might. Who knows? I hope everyone's having a good start to their Thanksgiving breaks. Everyone's having a good holiday so far. Holy crap! We almost forgot. Tonight's the in-season tournament! But it's the weekday in-season tournament. That's right. Tuesday nights are in-season tournament as well. I had to come back and record this part. We'll keep it quick. So we got 5 games tonight. Last Friday, The over-unders on the stupid color scheme that we've talked about so much actually went 7-4 and was 1 point away from going, or half a point away from going 8-3. We're sticking with it. But, like we've talked about, the Tuesday games are kind of the complete opposite from the Friday games. Not nearly as much energy. We've got pretty much all colorful courts tonight. We've got the Sixers red court. Ugh. Those always hit the under. We've got the Hawks. They've got the baby blue court at 252. The Suns have their purple court at 223. The Lakers have their bright yellow court at 238. And the Magic have their dull gray court at 215. What are we going to do? We're going to take the under on the Sixers game, under on the Hawks game, under on the Suns game, under on the Lakers game, and over on the Magic game. That's it. Those are your over-under color scheme, Ponzi scheme, terrible system bets that I'm going to do. I don't suggest anyone put actual money on this. I like testing out these theories and seeing whether or not they work. Okay, we'll get back to the outro. You've got a couple of decent NBA games to cuddle up with tonight. As always, make sure you're liked and subscribed on Twitter, on YouTube, on Spotify, whatever, on Instagram, the.grind podcast on Instagram. We're going to be streaming a little bit tonight on Twitch. I'll make sure to share those links around. See if we can get anybody chattering on there. We're going to be doing some live bets, like some live prop bets. Might get crazy. I've had this idea of doing like a little $5 crazy bet, like crazy parlay every night. And anyone that's watching gets to split the winnings, like a $5 to win like 100,000. And it'll never hit, but it'll draw in viewers. It'll get me clicks. So feel free to join us over on Twitch tonight. Thanks as always for listening or watching to The Daily Grind. I've been your host, Devin Murray.
Wasn't easy, but we've been fit. Oh, I'm home, and she's off to bed. Oh no.